So if the last episode was all about disappointment, shouldn't this one be about winning? No, just, going to the track and racing. But anyway, I did it. I finally got out on track and was able to compete and try and be as fast as possible. And that was my whole goal, and I freaking loved it. It was just such a great experience. The idea of trying to rein in the adrenaline, to be able to drive well and just enjoy every single moment because it was a goal. All I wanted to do was just get out there, compete, and drive myself to be the best that I could be. So the whole thing was I couldn't compete in CSCS, Canadian Sport Compact Series, because of the tires that I was running on the car. Well, 2020 being a bad year ended up being a good year because they opened up all the classes to be able to run whatever tire you wanted, as long as it wasn't pure slicks. And so I was like, hey, I don't have to buy a specific set of tires, let's go racing. I've gone to CSCS millions of times over the years with all of my different cars that I've had, and you know what? It's always a good time. You've got show cars, drag racing, track racing, open lapping, drifting now. It's got all sorts of cool stuff going on, so it really is a great show. I'm actually going to quote my brother because the way he defined the event was one of the best car shows he's ever been to. Even though he likes cars, he's not a car guy, and I think his expectation is Fast and Furious movie in person, but I just got to pay a ticket to go in. And CSCS is actually probably closest to that because you've got such a wide variety of cars, lots of events going on. It really is a great show. There are some shows that are more oriented to car people. This show is probably oriented to all people as long as you have a smidgen of interest in cars. Or for some poor souls, the significant others that are into cars. How was the actual time attack portion of the event? Because there were positives and negatives for me here. Leading up to the event, all I could do was think about the rule book and trying to make sure that the car was ready, but also trying to figure out how the event is actually run, because I've never done it. I learned that time attack is actually different depending on the series, and in this case, it was a day full of qualifying with one lead event that you are actually qualifying for to do the fastest lap. Is it about going the fastest? Yes, for sure it is, but then you actually have to do it again if you qualify. So it's pretty impressive. I like that added pressure of getting that one hot lap in, and it's the ability to actually be repetitive on doing that hot lap. If there was one negative coming in, I wish that there was a little bit more information more up front. The rule book, great, tons of information. But how the standard skeleton of the event was run, I didn't know what time scrutineering was necessarily starting. There wasn't really an announcement until right when they were ready to collect drivers. So for someone being new, I kind of sat on my hands and more so was a little bit nervous per se, looking around for, okay, where do I sign up? What do I do? Have I done enough? I just want to make sure I get on track, really. First thing you got to do is scrutineering. Scrutineering is obviously very, very straightforward. Want to make sure that your car is safe, make sure there's nothing going on, you're not necessarily in a different class from where you should be. They give you a sticker and away you go. So you take a short walk over to the registration booth where you get your stickers, and they are not for adding horsepower. They are to represent the vendors that are associated with the event. The main stickers are actually your number and window banner. And I've taken the window banner off at this point, but the window banner is basically a certain color and says what class you're in. This car was in the street class. There are 4 or 5 different classes, plus they're broken down into front wheel drive, all wheel drive, and rear wheel drive. Away you go, and you've got your schedule of when you're going to be on track. The run group sticker actually helps the event organizers know when you're supposed to be on track because they've grouped a certain amount of cars per time slot. I have to hand it to CSCS that with almost 100 cars competing, we were almost perfectly on schedule at the event that I was at, which was very surprising considering how many people were competing. One thing I really do wish is that they had more information up front about the event schedule. Only until a couple days before did they actually have that on Instagram and then on Facebook. Instagram wasn't the first place I checked for info. I was checking the website and Facebook, and that wasn't updated until later on. So it was kind of a little bit of a wash for information, but now that I know how the event is run, I understand to get there nice and early, go through scrutineering ASAP, Bit of Moira Rose for you there, even though that was unintentional.
David!
So what is the on-track like? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You are in a mix of many different types of drivers, skill levels, cars, and I didn't realize that traffic would have been the first obstacle to learn. The way I've built my car and the way some people build their cars, there's a very finite window of which you can operate at peak performance. That's mostly due to heat, especially on my car with a supercharger. There's a lot of heat that can affect intake temperatures. On some cars, that may be the tires in terms of when they heat cycle for grip. That may be brakes in terms of overheating. That may be the driver having to go to the washroom.
Oh my God, ew, David!
I don't know. That's potentially one. The other ones are definitely some. So you've got a finite window where your car is running at its best, and you've got to be able to take advantage of that scenario and do your best as consistently as possible. It's very tough to be consistent when you've got someone who's not running their burner lap and you're coming up behind them really, really quick. Your line may be ruined, your lap may be ruined, you might get into an accident. There's always that possibility. There was one point where I was behind a red Golf that was absolutely incredibly fast on the straightaway and then would get to a corner and I couldn't pass because I was so far back because of the immense power and speed. But I'm like so much faster through the corners. And guess what? That spoiled my laps. But had that been every single session, I would have been livid. What I basically tried to do as a beginner was maximize my time on track. As soon as my time slot would be open, I'd be out on track and setting as many quick laps as possible and trying to improve wherever I could. It worked out okay because the more time I spent on track, the better my lap times became. And that was pretty cool. And as the day went on, I decided that I could try and find gaps, slow down, let people pass, make it easy on them, be the kind competitor, and then try and accelerate and do as fast of a lap as I could with the little amount of traffic in front of me. So it was a bit of juggling there, and I don't know if that's the same for every event because not every event gets 100 cars out. This was a unique situation. Now the CSCS finale was at Cayuga, Toronto Motorsports Park, and I know that's not everyone's favorite track, but I love it, and for me it's fun. I have a pretty good idea of how it goes around, so I was able to push the car as much as I thought possible. Let me say that there is so much room for improvement, and I know for a fact that my car could probably be 3 to 3.5 seconds faster than it currently is. Does that come down to the idea that I have to modify my car even more? No, that is 100% the fact that I've got to become a better driver. And I think that by analyzing what I've done and spending more time at the track and learning from others and instructors is that there is always room for improvement. Does this mean I'm going to stop racing? No, this means I'm going to continue to try and improve. Let's get to the results because that's both a positive and a negative. It's over 2 months since the event was finished, and the results have not been posted anywhere other than the champions because, well, they're the most important. I understand that, but I'd like to know how I did. Luckily, I did pay attention at the time, and out of 93 competitors, I know that I was roughly mid-pack for time. I didn't qualify for the finale. I was not fast enough in my class. No worries, there was a lot of people in my class and I was happy with how I did. I believe I broke out to either 11th or 13th out of 19 drivers. So very healthily in the mid-pack. I know that had I got the time that I was gunning for, I would have been able to be in the upper half of the pack, definitely got into the finale potentially. I've also decided that my car is going to be getting to be more of a track car and less of a show and street car because there are some places in the rulebook where I can still take advantage of more grip and certain parts that I don't have on the car yet. I'm not going to get into those might be part of another episode. But I wanted to take you for the journey and the fact that I'm so excited that I was able to do this event. It was a blast, so much fun, a lot of cool drivers, pretty much a whole day on track, and I have to recommend the CSCS event. Ideally, I'll be able to do some other events and tell you how those go by comparison, but for now, a great day out. Thanks for watching. Remember, all gas, no brakes. Please hit that bell and subscribe, means a lot.